Alrighty, so news of the week episode on this Thursday afternoon, and we're gonna jump straight in by talking about some big news that came out of MLS regarding the transfer window and also the roster rule. Because today the league did announce exactly when the transfer window day is going to happen. The primary transfer window will start on January 26th and it will go for 2 months until March 26th, and the secondary transfer window will start on July 13th and will go all the way to September 2nd as well. Now, one thing that I can definitely see is the fact that I feel like the transfer window is getting much longer, especially the secondary transfer window. The league have already said that they're extending it into September 2nd, which is also the final day of the European transfer window as well in the summer. And I think the reason why they want to do that is because, with the way that the league is switching from a spring to fall schedule to a fall to spring schedule. They want to also align with the European window, but it's also the fact that we also know that this season the season is going to extend a little bit further because of the World Cup break. That's why you have the secondary transfer window being so late, and also the roster free date is going to be late as well. Before it was September that usually the roster freeze happened. Now it's going to happen in October with the way that usually it happens in the final month of the regular season, and we know the final month of the regular season is going to be in November this year instead of October. Now, in terms of the updated roster rule, there was definitely some big update in terms of the roster rule that the league made this season. Starting off with the cash to player trade. So this is definitely a revolutionary kind of rule that the league had set a couple of years ago, where now you don't have to basically get guys for a GAM. You can basically turn that into cash, and that's why we've seen some big cash to player trade in recent year. And it feels like the league really enjoys seeing that happen to a point where now there's no more limit in terms of how many cash to player trade that you can make. Before it was two in terms of the cash to player trade. Now you can make as many as you want, and that does make not only things more interesting, but do not be surprised that means that that cash to player trade that teams are really taking advantage of it. Well, now it's going to be next level with the way that there's no restriction whatsoever. And I also wonder, does that also kind of means that this is probably maybe the end of where we see players get exchanged for general allocation money? Because with the way that with the cash to player trade is going to happen, and you can convert that cash into game as well, it's kind of almost a little redundant to see the old days where we see teams that are basically trading for players in exchange for general allocation money. And also there is a elimination of age restriction as well in terms of intra-league loan deal. Now this is a big rule change because this rule change actually affected my team as well. So last year there was actually a report immediately came out after this rule change has made that Minnesota did try to get Christian Ramirez last summer as well and try to loan him from the LA Galaxy, but because of the age restriction rule that is in place in terms of intra-league loan deal, this move unfortunately wasn't able to complete as Christian Ramirez was over that age limit as well. Now, with the age restriction gone, then now this deal is going to be allowed, and it's kind of sucks the fact that it's now allowed not last summer, because for many times I've always say that I would definitely be open arms of seeing Christian Ramirez back in a Loons jersey. In fact, every Loons fans want to see Superman back in the team, and I'm really hoping eventually that could happen, and it still could happen. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with the way that this team still have issue in terms of the number 9 position. Why not decide to bring in a guy that really is the benchmark in terms of being one, if not the best number 9 that this team has ever had in club history. And even though I know he's not going to be anywhere close to that compared to when he first joined the team and when he came into the league, it's still a great nostalgia kind of feeling. And that, again, fans, they still really love Christian Ramirez, and it would be very nice to see a reunion, and also kind of almost a little nostalgia feeling to see seeing Ramirez don that Loons jersey once again. Now, the league have also reviewed the 2026 game availability for each club, and unsurprisingly, Minnesota United is at number 1 on that spot. I mean, we have heard that this team has has among the most GAM in the league. I actually did not expect the fact that they were number one, but at the same time, I was also not surprised to find out that they're number one. In fact, it wasn't even close. I think they're the only team that have $7 million of GAM available, and that just kind of once again shows you the fact that this is kind of the reason why Loons fans are a little frustrated with the front office of not actually using that game to basically get some reinforcement. Even though I have started to see the club have been very proactive in terms of making the signing. It's just that they're not using the game to do so, and we'll see whether they could do that for the remaining all of the off season. But it's also important to note that for those of you that wonder where Inter Miami is, Inter Miami actually is not that low on the chart. As much as I know they spent a lot of money in terms of making deals, they're actually still in the top half in terms of availability game. They have about $6.6 million left of the game. So yeah, obviously that's not going to make anyone happy. The fact that not only they're dodging left and right in terms of some of the rules that they're doing to build a super team, but the fact that they still have among the most game money in their club. I mean, I know some people say how is that possible, but at the end of the day, that's just what it says. I mean, the league basically fills everybody's game amount, and you gotta credit Inter Miami in terms of the way that not only they are making some smart move that is kind of maybe bending the rules a bit, but still falling within. But they also are a team that I've seen before that they have sell some player to other teams and they've been able to get Gamma as a resort. So yeah, at the end of the day, as much as I know everybody hate what Inter Miami is doing, they're still following the rules, and the amount of games that they have is literally what the league publish. And now, speaking of Inter Miami, they have officially locked Rios Novo to a permanent deal as well, and this also means that Oscar Story. I mean, I'm wondering, when exactly they're going to think about activating the buyout or even maybe trade him to somewhere else because with Rocco's Rio Novos being there and Dane Sinclair being the potentially the number one as well, there's really no reason for them to keep hold of Oscar Rostari, especially the contract that he has. That's I talk about Inter Miami being smart with their contract. That is kind of the one rare contract that they're kind of not being very smart about when it comes to spending the money, and they've been wanted to maybe exercise a buyout and maybe even terminate his contract. So I won't be surprised that might be the case because there's really no need to have free of your goalkeeper earning a lot of money and take up some of the cap space. And especially there was talk the fact that whether or not if Rios Novos was still going to be staying on the team after the Dane Sinclair signing. Well, seems like the answer is yes, he is going to be back with the team. Albeit, I think he's probably going to be back in terms of the backup role because, again, with the amount that Inter Miami got for Dane Sinclair, there's no way that they're going to put him as a backup role. And I don't think he came to Inter Miami just thinking of getting a backup role as well. He is committed to be with Inter Miami to not only have a good season with the team, but fulfill his dream of playing alongside with Messi. But this is pretty much kind of his springboard of him potentially making that jump to Europe as soon as next year, because after all, there's only a 1 year contract that he signed with Inter Miami after he made that switch this offseason as well. Now, Minnesota have signed a player in these last couple of days with them signing winger Maurizio Gonzalez from Deportivo Tolima. Now, apparently, I thought originally this was a U22 signing, but apparently it's not. It seems like it's just a signing that takes up an international spot. So I wonder if this is more just kind of for depth reason. I've been wanting this team to maybe get a U22 signing done this off season, and it feels like that wait of getting a U22 player is going to have to wait. Though I'll talk about in just a bit that they are also rumor of a player that could be that U22 signing that they of course get it done this off season. But yeah, with him getting him, I mean, I have heard some good things about him. I'm not quite sure he's going to be a regular starter. I feel like he's more just for depth reason, or maybe even be a guy that could be part of the second team of the Loons, because I know that when you look at some of these signings that the Loons have made in the past, some of these kind of under the radar kind of signing, some of them are not just really just for depth reason, but all just because of putting them in the second team team there. So I'm not quite sure if that's going to be the case. Not quite sure if he's going to get minutes, but overall, I would never complain when a team adds some depth signing, and that's exactly what Minnesota did recently. And then of course New England has acquired Griffin Yao from Westerlo, and I'm not going to mention too much about this signing because I already talked about this before. This is pretty much just me talk about how they now have officially make the signing after for the past couple of weeks they've been linked to try to get him coming back from MLS, and that's exactly the case. I mean, New England, I'm not surprised that they're getting a lot of these youngsters because again, the guy that is the head coach of the team right now used to be with the U.S. Youth national team, so it kind of makes sense the fact that the youth movement is once again strong with this New England team, and I'm not surprised that there's going to be a lot of good youth player that's going to come out for the Revs that they're going to look to try to develop and eventually sell them for a huge amount of money soon as the summer transfer window as well. Now, Charlotte FC, they have officially signed Tyler Miller from Bolton Wanderers. I'm kind of surprised Tyler Miller is back in the league. I thought he actually decided to maybe hang up his boots, especially with the way that I know he is definitely still well loved in the Loons fan base, especially what he has done during his time there. But he's kind of been bouncing around the league to a point where he actually did make that jump to Europe, but now he's coming back to MLS and now pretty much are in the same role that Drake Calendar what was in just a year ago, kind of being a backup for Christian Delina. And it's not a bad option too. I think Tyler Miller is a pretty decent backup option. He's definitely not as good of a goalkeeper as he was a couple of years ago with LAFC and Minnesota United, but still a good option in terms of being a backup as well. And then San Diego has officially re-signed Luca Bombino to a new contract extension. This is a no-brainer. I mean, I've already mentioned in my moving forward series about San Diego yesterday, talk about Luca Bombino being one of my more young player to or being my young player to watch this season. I mean, he definitely had a breakout season last year with San Diego being an absolute menace in that position, and I feel like he's gonna get even better to a point where yes, I do think that he's gonna get offer and shop around as soon as uh, the the summer transfer window if he can keep up his upside that he definitely has this season as well. Now, moving on, in terms of talk about some transfer rumors. So, obviously, whenever we talk about transfer rumor, at least in the last couple of weeks, the first thing we got to talk about is the Jar Sargent situation because, yeah, it's very interesting to follow this Jar Sargent saga that is going on between Norwich City and Toronto. And now it seems like most likely this saga is starting to come to an end, though it isn't going to end in a happy ending, which is kind of not a big surprise because every time when we see a transfer saga, it usually does not always end up with both players and clubs kind of seeing eye to eye, and more times or not both club and players kind of burn bridges as they join a new team, and that's kind of the case with Sargent right now. It feels like he clearly has burned the bridges with Norwich City, as this latest saga have said that both the manager and the head coach of Norwich City and the sporting director have said that he has now play his last game with the club as well, and that it seems like that move of him going to Toronto is imminent. And this also happened right after when Sargent was very upset at the team after the team in the front office had made some comments about his family. And yeah, overall, again, it is an ugly situation. It is an ugly breakup to see, and you just wonder, with him being so demanded in terms of making that transfer. I mean, when I look on this side, I do think that they're both of these sides are kind of in the wrong in this frame. In the case of Jar Sargent, he is kind of in the wrong in terms of being so demanding in terms of forcing this move, and that kind of maybe makes a question that the whoever of course get him, and in this case of Toronto FC, is he going to have that same demeanor when he really wanted to demand a switch elsewhere from Toronto FC as well? But you can also blame this on Norwich City as well with the way that they kind of let this holdout get a little ugly, and then the whole thing about how there's a report of them saying some nasty comments about Sargent family. That was really no need for, and because of that, I mean, again, this is an ugly divorce that we're seeing right now. Definitely not the way that I thought Jar Sargent coming to MLS and coming back to it after his little European venture is going to come to an end. And you also wonder, like, this also could damage his prosperity of potentially going back to Europe as well? Because as much as I know that it seems like he could potentially go back to MLS one day, and it feels like for TFC this is like a Josie Altidore situation again, where they get a player that was had a lot of upside with the U.S. men's national team, but didn't quite worked out. And last time when they of course got Josie Altidore from Sunderland, he turns out to do very well with the club, and I think it's going to be the same case with Jar Sargent as well. I think he's going to be really good in this league. He still have proven that he can score a lot of goals with Norwich City, and with the way that he's still also relatively young as well. It's hard to believe he's still in the prime of his career as well. I wouldn't be surprised he's gonna do well in MLS and with Toronto. But it's just again this saga that is going on right now. What an ugly saga it's been. Definitely one of the more interesting and one of the more ugly saga that I have seen involving a player really want to go back to MLS. Now, speaking of former U.S. men's national team player coming back to MLS, so there's been a lot of talk that Ethan Horvat looks like he's coming back to MLS as well, and now it seems like the New York Red Bulls is going to be the team that is looking to get Ethan Horvat. Not a big surprise considering that with the way that they just let go of Carlos Cornell this offseason, they've been wanted to get a new goalkeeper throughout this whole offseason. It's been the biggest priority because there's no way they're going to trot out John McCarvey there in the beginning of the season. I already mentioned before in their moving forward series how bad that would be if they are going to have to trot out John McCarthy as their starting goalkeeper. But yeah, getting Ethan Horvat, we'll see how he's going to do. I mean, he'll always remember in terms of the being the heroic in that Nations League final between the U.S. and Mexico a couple of years ago. But we'll see how he's going to do now coming back to MLS and see whether or not he can be a decent goalkeeper in this league as well. Now, the LA Galaxy, they are in talk to sign Joe Klaus from St. Louis City, and apparently it seems like this is going to be a DP signing as well. Now, obviously, Joe Klaus leaving St. Louis City, this is nothing new. It's been in talks for the past year and a half now. There was even talks last season that he was going to go to Liga MX as well and going to Mazatlan. Obviously, that didn't quite material, but now it seems like he is gonna indeed leave St. Louis. And I didn't think the LA Galaxy was the team that he was going to join. I mean, in a way, it's kind of interesting the fact that the Galaxy is going to get him. Consider he has really tormented the Galaxy in the last couple of years. Whenever he play against the Galaxy, so I guess maybe the Galaxy saw that and say, well, if we can't beat him, then we might as well get him in the transfer market. Now, as much as it seems like it's a smart signing, the problem with this is the fact that they said that it seems like it's going to require a DP tag, and I know that they've also said that he can be buy down as well by the end of the season, but he is kind of taking the DP tag away from Ricky Puig, who's done for the season after undergoing surgery with his knees for the second consecutive year, and I just feel like they could have definitely used that DP tag somewhere else as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, Joe Klaus, if he can still get himself back to the version that he was when he came into the league with St. Louis, then I think the Galaxy has got themselves a home run signing, and especially with the lack of number 9 on this team in terms of the quality wise, Joe Klaus will definitely bring bring a huge upside in terms of it. But again, to make him a DP like that and to spend that DP that Ricky Puig was supposed to be occupied to stand on Joe Klaus, not only the fact that I think that's kind of a bit of an overpay, but I feel like that's a very strange decision and a pretty risky decision as well because with the way that Joe Klaus hasn't really looked at well in the last couple of years with St. Louis, not since ever since he suffered that injury that really has kind of changed his projectile to being a guy that's been kind of average in the league as being a number 9. Yeah, this is definitely a bit of a risky signing from the Galaxy to decide to get him on a DP contract. Now, Hull City is report to finalizing a deal to sign Patty McNair away from San Diego. Now, obviously, seems like this deal is going to be pretty close to being done, and this will kind of hurt San Diego a bit because McNair was a pretty good depth defender for this team, but it's kind of understandable why he wants to go back to Europe and especially going back to England as well. So we'll see whether or not if this deal, of course, would be made, and if this deal does made, then San Diego will definitely once again will have to look into the transfer market to try to maybe strengthen their defensive depth again. Now, Atlanta United, speaking of depth, they're looking to booster their midfield depth as well. So they're in talk to sign West Ham and former Argentine international midfielder Guido Rodriguez. They also are finalizing a deal to sign U.S. youth national team midfielder Adrian Heel from Barcelona as well. Now, with the first guy, he's been a guy that's been with West Ham for a bit. From what I heard, he's kind of a guy that is a bit slow for his position, which again, I don't know if that would work out, especially of how demanding and athletic MLS could be when it comes to the physicality. But the second in signing, Adrian Heel, he's a guy that is a La Masia product. So anytime when you have a guy that's from a La Masia product, you're getting some of the best young prospect in the world. Though he's kind of stalled out doing his time being in the La Masia uh, academy, and he's a guy that once did had some upside to be a guy that could have as high of a potential being maybe being with the national team, but it just kind of really haven't worked out a bit, and Atlanta is taking a chance to see whether or not if they can tap into that upside. And again, the reason why Atlanta is desperately needing some midfield help is the fact that recently they did transfer Edwin Mosquera back to Argentina as well, and that was kind of a move that they had to do, considering that Edwin Mosquera, he was okay during his time with Atlanta, but definitely not justified when it comes to the amount that they're spending him and the amount of cap space that he is taking in this Atlanta United team. Now, Minnesota, they are report to sign 20-year-old right back Cherion Valoris from AC Breda. Now, apparently, from what I heard, it seems like the team have agreed that this deal it is being made. But the only reason why this deal hasn't officially been pushed through is the fact that the players are still undecided of whether or not if he is going to go to MLS and going to join Minnesota. I mean, I really hope eventually the Loons will convince him to join the team, because right back is definitely one position that they needed, and this seems like is going to be that U22 signing. And from what I also heard, the fact that he's also getting some big interest in La Liga as well. It seems he has a lot of upside, and he could be a decent player for the Loons this season. But again, it will all depend whether or not if the Loons can convince him to join the team, and that's not easy to do, especially what's going on in the U.S. Landscape, and also you all know what's going on in the Minnesota situation as well. It's pretty ugly in terms of the landscape that's going on in Minnesota, and I also wonder, is that kind of maybe the big reason why the team is kind of having some issue in terms of trying to attract players when it's an ugly political situation that is going on in Minnesota for the past week or two. Now, moving on, in terms of talking about general news that's not related to transfer rumors, though this one is kind of part of that. But this was kind of an interesting one where Denis Bawanga actually retweeted a tweet by someone saying that they were about inches from reaching your dream, and the club shut it down. Now, the reason why you retweeted that is because originally it seems like Inter Miami wasn't going to sign Herman Betarame, that they're very close to getting from Rayados, and that their alternative plan was getting Denis Bawanga to join the team. Now, obviously, I think that as much as we talk about a lot of these players going to Inter Miami and kind of maybe ring chase a bit and want to play with Messi as well, I actually kind of now started to not blame these players decide to do that. I know Inter Miami is painting themselves as a bad and evil kind of villain of MLS heading into this season, but you got to think with all these players around the league, or even some players from different league around the world. I mean, if Inter Miami is interested to get him, I'm pretty sure a lot of these players will absolutely say yes to it. And the Messi influence is not just big when it comes to the media and also the general sports culture here in the U.S. And I'll talk about in a bit how that kind of plays in the big part of now it seems like soccer is being one of the more popular sports again in the U.S. But it's also an influence when it comes to getting player as well. I mean, every single players, if there's a chance that they get to play with Messi, especially young players, that is, I mean, they would absolutely accept it. Like that's their hero that they get a chance to play and I guess for Denis Bouanga, I know he wants to probably do the same thing as well, partnering with Messi, and I think that's kind of also the reason why we also saw Dane Sinclair does that. And as much as I kind of still hated him for doing it, I mean, part of me kind of don't blame him. The fact that yeah, you get a chance to play with the goal, you will definitely accept that. Now that being said, LAFC did shut that down. That's kind of the why the second part kind of is relevant when Denis Bouanga retweeted this, and I'm not gonna really read too much into that, but I know there are gonna be some people that have said that this is not a good look on Denis Bouanga and LAFC part, and we'll see whether or not they can figure it out. Especially, it's interesting that the first game that LAFC is playing is against Inter Miami. I wonder how Denis Bouanga is going to feel and what his mindset is going to be coming into the game when he realized that if he was actually really serious about this quote, how much he would be very frustrated. The fact that he's still with LAFC right now and miss a big opportunity to play for for your for the GOAT himself and play for maybe even a better team than the one that he is joining in right now. Now, moving on, MLS Next Pro has officially released their schedule as well, and they are going to kick off on February 27th as well. Now, another news that's related to MLS Next Pro is that the San Jose Earthquakes have now revert their name back to Quakes 2, and I'm glad that they actually are going back to this name, and I'm also hoping that they decided to maybe go back to playing games at PayPal Park because they've been playing in the St. Mary's campus, which is just very strange. The fact that they've been playing there, considering it's so far away from where they all operate as well. But I'm kind of glad that they are reverting back to Quakes 2 because when they decided to rebrand themselves as the Town FC, I mentioned how much that feels like a huge kind of how do you say it? It feels like it's kind of a dick move in terms of what they did in terms of trying to take a dig on the Oakland roots as well, and especially the the city of Oakland as well, because with John Fisher, I'm pretty sure right now if you mention the name John Fisher in Oakland, he is gonna met with a lot of choice words with a lot of people in Oakland. People in Oakland are basically declaring John Fisher as public enemy number one, especially with the whole Ace situation that gone down. But now it just feels like that feels like it's almost like twisting the knife when John Fisher decided that we're gonna call that team the Town FC just to use that as a way to ridicule kill the Oakland soccer sports fandom, but also the fact that we're gonna move to the East Base to kind of reflect that, even though whether they play, it kind of didn't make any sense. The fact that they would call themselves the Town FC when they're basically playing out a Moraga, and again, I just don't like the fact that they moved it so far away, and now we'll see whether with this rebrand that means that they're now going to be playing more games back at PayPal Park. And then moving on in the next news, and this was a very interesting news that I found out, and a very scary news that I found out too, as former Minnesota United head coach Adrian Heath shared a story of him actually getting kidnapped in Morocco for a Saudi job that actually didn't exist. And I definitely encourage people read this news article. It's a New York Times article as well, and I definitely read it, and I definitely are very thankful that Adrian Heath is okay. I mean, as much as I know, the Loons fan base kind of ridicule him near the end of his tenure. He is still pretty wellly respected in the Loons fan base, and to see that situation happen, I mean, this is a scary situation that he just involved in. I'm also kind of got to give props to Adrian Heath to even have the audacity to share this story. I mean, he even said that he kind of hold up this story. He didn't really want to share it to the public for a bit, and I don't blame the fact that he doesn't want to share it to the public because this is a serious personal no matter, and that yeah, I hate to hear the fact that at the end of the day, nothing really seriously happened to Adrian Heath, and that he of course was okay, because this could have been an ugly scene. This would have also been very sad to see if as well if I found out that Adrian Heath got kidnapped and was never seen again to this day. I mean that's again, I think for those that are interested in terms of reading this story, I highly recommend in terms of that. It's a very interesting story. It's something that I don't think I've ever seen an MLS head coach, let alone any head coach have ever dealt with in their career as well. And then last but not least, it is report that soccer is now the third most popular sport among Americans as well. Now, I'm not quite sure exactly that is true. And that when they did that article. It was actually a Fox Sports article. They also mentioned the fact that it's now surpassed baseball as the third most popular sports, which that absolutely is not correct. I mean, I think right now, football obviously is still king in the league. In second, you could maybe argue basketball and baseball is kind of that, depending on who you ask. I think baseball is starting to get back to second recently because with basketball, it seems like there's some turmoil that's going on with the NBA and especially with the ratings kind of being down with that league as well, and the fact that baseball has really resurged himself with the new pitch clock rule, and also Shohei Ohtani kind of doing his Lionel Messi impression of really helping booster that league. Yeah, I don't believe the fact that baseball has just been over soccer. I feel like baseball is still more popular right now compared to soccer, but nevertheless, soccer is definitely moving up, and it's just going to continue to move up once this World Cup is going to happen. And say what you say about all the controversy surrounding this World Cup, but I think it's going to really draw the cash row in, and the fact that again the league is doing everything to try to capitalize that, and I don't blame the league is trying to do it because people forget that this league itself, Major League Soccer, it was all started because of the popularity that happened in the last World Cup, and who to say that heading after the World Cup is over, that the ratings is still going to be continue to be at an all time high, and especially with the new Apple TV deal being more flexible now that you don't have to pay an additional subscription, even if you have Apple TV as well. It's just going to continue to increase the viewership and also the rating that MLS have already started getting record amount from last season as well. There you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of this News of the Week episode. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news, and if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below as always. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.